Chapter 21. Of how the angels here left Enoch at the end of the seventh heaven, and went away from him unseen. And the cherubim and seraphim standing about the throne, the six-winged and the many-eyed ones, do not depart, standing before the Lord's face, doing his will, and covered his whole throne, singing with gentle voice before the Lord's face, Holy, 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 Lord, ruler of Sabbath, heavens and earth are full of thy glory. When I saw all these things, these men said to me, Enoch, thus far it is commanded us to journey with thee. And those men went away from me, and thereupon I saw them not. And I remained alone at the end of the seventh heaven, and became afraid, and fell on my face, and said to myself, Woe is me, what has befallen me? And the Lord sent one of his glorious ones, the archangel Gabriel, and he said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise before the Lord's face into eternity. Arise, come with me. And I answered him and said in myself, My Lord, my soul is departed from me, my terror and trembling. And I called to the men who led me up to this place. Of them I relied, and it is with them I go before the Lord's face. And Gabriel caught me up as a leaf caught up in the wind, and placed me before the Lord's face. And I saw the eighth heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue, Muzaloth, changer of the seasons, of drought and of wet, and of the 12 signs of the zodiac, which are above the seventh heaven. And I saw the ninth heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kuchavim, which are the heavenly homes of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Chapter 22. In the 10th heaven the archangel Michael led Enoch before the Lord's face. On the 10th heaven, Aravoth, I saw the appearance of the Lord's face, like iron made to glow in fire, and brought out emitting sparks, and it burns. Thus I saw the Lord's face, but the Lord's face is ineffable, marvelous, and very awful, and very, very terrible. And who am I to tell of the Lord's unspeakable being, and of his very wonderful face? And I cannot tell the quantity of the many instructions and various voices, the Lord's throne very great, and not made with hands, nor the quantity of those standing around him, troops of cherubim and seraphim, nor their incessant singing, nor his immutable beauty, and who shall tell of the ineffable greatness of his glory? And I fell prone and bowed down to the Lord, and the Lord with his lips said to me, Have courage, Enoch, do not fear. Arise and stand before my face into eternity. And the archistrategy Michael lifted me up and led me before the Lord's face. And the Lord said to his servant tempting them, Let Enoch stand before my face into eternity. And the glorious ones bowed down to the Lord and said, Let Enoch go according to thy word. And the Lord said to Michael, Go and take Enoch from out his earthly garments, and anoint him with my sweet ointment, and put him into the garments of my glory. And Michael did thus, as the Lord told him. He anointed me and dressed me, and the appearance of that ointment is more than the great light, and his ointment is like sweet dew, and its smell mild, shining like the sun's ray. And I looked at myself, and was like one of the glorious ones. And the Lord summoned one of his archangels by name Pravuel, whose knowledge was quicker in wisdom than the other archangels, who wrote all the deeds of the Lord. And the Lord said to Pravuel, Bring out the books from my storehouse, and a reed of quick writing, and give it to Enoch, and deliver to him the choice and comforting books out of thy hand. Chapter 23. Of Enoch's writings, how he wrote his wonderful journeys and his heavenly apparitions, and himself wrote 360 books. And he was telling me all the works of heaven, earth, and sea, and all the elements, their passages and going, and the thundering of the thunders and the sun and the moon, the going and the change of the stars, the seasons, years, days, and hours, the rising of the wind, the numbers of the angels, and the formation of their song, and all human things, the tongue of every human song and life, the commandments, instructions, and sweet voice singing, and all things that is fitting to learn. And Pravuel told me, All the things that I have told thee we have written. Sit and write all the souls of mankind, however many of them are born, and the places prepared for them to eternity. For all souls are prepared to eternity before the formation of the world. And all double 30 days and 30 nights, and I wrote out all these things exactly, and wrote 366 books. Chapter 24. Of the great secrets of God, which God revealed, and told to Enoch, and spoke with him face to face. And the Lord summoned me and said to me, Enoch, sit down on my left with Gabriel. And I bowed down to the Lord, and the Lord spoke to me. Enoch, beloved, all thou seest all things that are standing finished, I tell to thee, even before the very beginning, all that I created from non-being, invisible things from invisible. Hear, Enoch, and take in these words, for not to my angels have I told my secret, and I have not told them their rise, nor my endless realm, nor have they understood my creating which I tell to thee today. For before all things were visible, I alone used to go about in the invisible things, like the sun from east to west and from west to east. But even the sun has peace in itself, while I found no peace because I was creating all things, and I conceived the thoughts of placing foundations and of creating visible creation. Chapter 25. God relates to Enoch how out of the very lowest darkness comes down the visible and invisible. I commanded in the very lowest parts that visible things should come down from invisible. And a doyle came down very great, and I beheld him, and lo, he had the belly of a great light. And I said to him, Become undone, a doyle, and let the visible come out of thee. And he came undone, and a great light came out. And I was in the midst of the great light. And as there is born light from light, there came forth a great age, and showed all creation which I had thought to create. And I saw that it was good. Then I placed for myself a throne, and took my seat on it, and said to the light, Go thou up higher, and fix thyself high above the throne, and be a foundation to the highest things. And above the light there is nothing else. And then I bent up and looked up from my throne. Chapter 26. God summons from the very lowest a second time that Arcus, heavy and very red, should come forth. And I summoned the very lowest a second time, and said, Let Arcus come forth hard. And he came forth hard from the invisible. And Arcus came forth hard, heavy, and very red. And I said, Be opened, Arcus, and let there be born from thee. And he came undone, and age came forth very great and very dark, bearing the creation of all lower things. And I saw that it was good, and said to him, Go thou down below, and make thyself firm, and be for a foundation for the lower things. And it happened, and he went down, and fixed himself, and became the foundation for the lower things. And below the darkness there is nothing else. Chapter 27. Of how God founded the water, and surrounded it with light, and established on it 7 islands. And I commanded there should be taken from light and darkness, and I said, Be thick, and it became thus. And I spread it out with the light, and it became water. And I spread it out over the darkness below the light. And then I made firm the waters, that is to say, the bottomless. And I made foundation of light around the water, and created 7 circles from inside, and imagined it, like crystals wet and dry, that is to say, like glass, and the circumcision of the waters, and the other elements, and I showed each one of them its road, and the 7 stars each one of them in its heavens, that they go thus, and I saw that it was good. And I separated between light and between darkness, that is to say, in the midst of the water hither and thither, and I said to the light, that it should be the day, and to the darkness, that it should be the night, and there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Chapter 28. The week in which God showed Enoch all his wisdom and power, throughout all the 7 days, how he created all the heavenly and earthly forces, and all moving things, even down to man. And then I made firm the heavenly circle, and made that the lower water which is under heaven collect itself together into one whole, and that the chaos become dry, and it became so. Out of the waves I created rock hard and big, and from the rock I piled up the dry, and the dry I called earth, and the midst of the earth I called abyss, that is to say, the bottomless. I collected the sea in one place, and bound it together with a yoke. And I said to the sea, Behold, I give thee thy eternal limits, and thou shalt not break loose from thy component parts. Thus I made fast the firmament. This day I called me the first created. Chapter 29. Then it became evening, and then again morning, and it was the 2nd day. Monday is the first day, the fiery essence. And for all the heavenly troops I imagined an image and essence of fire, and my eye looked at the very hard, firm rock, and from the gleam of my eye the lightning received its wonderful nature. which is both fire and water and fire. And one does not put out the other, nor does the one dry up the other. Therefore the lightning is brighter than the sun, softer than water, and firmer than hard rock. And from the rock I cut off a great fire, and from the fire I created the orders of the incorporeal 10 troops of angels, and their weapons are fiery, and their raiment a burning flame. And I commanded that each one should stand in this order. Here Satan with his angels were thrown down from the height. And one from out the order of angels, having turned away with the order that was under him, conceived an impossible thought, to place his throne higher than the clouds above the earth, that he might become equal in rank to my power. And I threw him out from the height with his angels, and he was flying in the air continuously above the bottomless. Chapter 30. And then I created all the heavens, and the third day was Tuesday. On the third day I commanded the earth to make grow great and fruitful trees, and hills, and seed and sow. And I planted paradise, and enclosed it, and placed as armed guardians flaming angels, and thus I created renewal. Then came evening, and came morning the fourth day. Wednesday, on the fourth day I commanded that there should be great lights on the heavenly circles. On the uppermost circle I placed the stars, Chrono, and on the second, Aphrodite, on the third, Eris, on the fifth, Zeus, on the sixth, Hermes, on the seventh, Lesser the moon, and adorned it with lesser stars. And on the lower I placed the sun for the illumination of the day, and the moon and stars for the illumination of the night. The sun, that it should go according to each animal, the sign of the zodiac, 12. And I appointed a succession of the months and their names and lives, their thundering and their hour making, how they should succeed. Then evening came, and morning came the fifth day. Thursday, on the fifth day I commanded the sea, that it should bring forth fishes and feathered birds of many varieties, and all animals creeping over the earth, going forth over the earth on 4 legs, and soaring in the air, male sex and female, and every soul breathing the spirit of life. And there came evening, and there came morning the sixth day. Friday, on the sixth day I commanded my wisdom to create man from 7 consistencies. 1, his flesh from the earth. 2, his blood from the dew. 3, his eyes from the sun. 4, his bones from stone. 5, his intelligence from the swiftness of the angels and from clouds. 6, his veins and his hair from the grass of the earth. 7, his soul from my breath and from my wind. And I gave him 7 natures, to the flesh hearing, the eyes for sight, to the soul smell, the veins for touch, the blood for taste, the bones for endurance, to the intelligence sweetness. I conceived a cunning saying to say, I created man from invisible and from visible nature. Of both are his death and life an image. He knows speech like some created thing, small in greatness, and again great in smallness. And I placed him on earth, a second angel, honorable, great, and glorious. And I appointed him as ruler to rule on earth and to have my wisdom. And there was none like him on earth of all my existing creatures. And I appointed him a name, from the 4 component parts, from east, from west, from south, from north. And I appointed for him 4 special stars. And I called his name Adam, and showed him the 2 ways, the light and the darkness. And I told him, This is good, and that bad, that I should learn whether he has love toward me or hatred, that it be clear which in his race love me. For I have seen his nature, but he has not seen his own nature. Therefore through not seeing he will sin worse. And I said, After sin, what is there but death? And I put a sleep into him, and he fell asleep. And I took from him a rib, and created him a wife, that death should come to him by his wife. And I took his last word, and called her name Mother, that is to say, Eva.